It's an all Schubert Motorsport BMW front row here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to race 2 of the ADAC GT Masters, round 2 of the season. Yesterday, we saw the very BMW that sits on pole position today win race 1 of the weekend in the hands of Ben Green and Nicholas Cruton. That is the car there. It was absolutely epic. Yesterday, we were thoroughly entertained, weren't we, David Addison?
It was a mighty drive in the first stint yesterday by Ben Green, who lived up to his name by driving on the grass at one point. He then handed over to Nicholas Cruton, who was absolutely mighty. He surprised us a bit yesterday, and then Nicholas Cruton goes and bangs the car on pole position this morning. He is very much the man of the weekend. Trouble is, the car's 20 kilos heavier going into this second race compared to what it was yesterday. We'll see whether the weight tells, but Nicholas Cruton, to receive that pole position award, did a mighty job this morning. He's been one of the stars of the weekend.
You saw him there clutching his pole position award. I think it's a Pirelli barbecue, and who knew? The other of the Schubert Motorsport BMWs on the front row, Nicky Katzberg, the 2020 Nürburgring 24-hour race winner. A great qualifying session yesterday, but yesterday, in yesterday's race, had some brake issues, I understand, which hampered his progress. Making up for it today, though, third on the grid, the Team U Sportwagen Technique Porsche 911 in the hand of another legend of GT3 racing, Christian Engelhardt, along with Ian Changuven, who's come into GT Masters from Porsche Carrera Cup Germany this year and has really taken to it like a duck to water, coming home in second place yesterday. I've just demoted him. Second place yesterday. Our championship leading car, Motoplast by Land Motorsport, Ricardo Feller, not in that seat this weekend. He has other duties. It's Dries Vanthoor who's sitting in for him alongside Youssef Vega. And there is the car that entertained us so much at Oschersleben in the hands of Sven Muller, the Allied Racing Porsche 911. Conditions are absolutely perfect here at the Red Bull Ring. We are in Spielberg. We're in the Styrian Mountains. The rain has gone away. The track has dried. It is so hot and sunny. We look there at the Rutronic Racing Audi, being driven by Dennis Marshall and Kim Louis Schramm. Dennis Marshall doing the opening driving stint. That was a car that actually got disqualified from yesterday's race because of a fuel infringement. And there, another of the great British hopes, Jack Aitken. It's been so good to welcome him to GT Masters this year in the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini, and he has shone, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's still dovetailing GT racing with sports prototype racing, the Anglo-Korean driver, but also bouncing back from his nasty Spa 24 Hours accident last year. Jack Aitken getting quicker and quicker all the time. Teammate Arthur Rougier drives the first stint in number 19, also out of the Emil Frey stable, before he gives way to Franck Pereira. And there, the number 8 Mercedes, which is going to be started by the Spanish driver Dani Jonquedea, who again, as part of the Mercedes fabric, was a DTM racer, now very much part of that GT program, former Formula 3 Euro Series champion. And there you see number 15 Audi at the Rutronic car that Patrick Niederhauser will start and then give way to TCR graduate Luca Engschler for the second stint.
You may wonder where the man-filter team Landgraf Mercedes is lingering. Yesterday, the number 48 car started on pole positions in the hand of Raffaele Marciello. But today, well, qualifying has not been the success story they wanted. They are down in 19th place. An awful lot of work to do from there to get their championship back on track. You're looking there at the JP Motorsport McLaren, a guest appearance. And it's the first time we've seen a McLaren on the GT Masters grid in 7 years. At the wheel, Dennis Lind and former Formula 1 driver Christian Kleen. The JP Motorsport McLaren, a really welcome addition, very distinctive in its gold and black. It shone well yesterday with an 11th place, but probably under-delivered from what they were expecting, I would say.
Yeah, it was one of the cars, a bit like the Mercedes of Marciello and Aberdeen that you mentioned, that was good in qualifying, but admittedly picked up a penalty in the race, but didn't really, with its result, reflect what was expected of it. More to come today. Looking further down the grid, or further up the grid, as you head towards the front of it, Christopher Mies in the car that he shares with Max Witthofer, and bit by bit you can start to piece together the way the grid is going to line up. But Audi, as ever, strong numerically.
We're still waiting for the first ever Mercedes or Audi win in the GT Masters here at the Red Bull Ring. It is a circuit that has favoured the BMW over the years. Of course, last time here it was the M6. It's the brand new M4 this time. As already alluded to, there is a success ballast that is going to be in the leading car that Nicholas Cruton is going to be driving at the start of this race. A 20 kilo success ballast that has been added as a result of yesterday's race win. That ballast wasn't in the car during qualifying. Now, is it going to make that much of a difference starting from pole position, or is he going to get swallowed up by the rest of the field, or indeed by the fellow Schubert Motorsport BMW alongside in the hands of Nicky Katzberg?
You'd certainly anticipate that 20 kilos lighter will help on the run up to turn 3 up that steep hill. As the 1 minute board is shown, the Start Your Engines board given by Christopher Hergfeldt, the ADAC GT Masters Esports champion. Esports has become very much a part over the last couple of years of motorsport, and of course there's on-site esports racing for some GT championships, but the ADAC embracing it big time. Engines fire up, 10 kilos given to the Christian Engelhardt Porsche, 5 to the Jonathan Aberdeen Mercedes, and they also, of course, are going to have to factor that in the first stint. Right, Brian, let's have a look at this grid.
Nicholas Cruton on pole position alongside Nicky Katzberg. Great qualifying this morning, and all Schubert Motorsport. BMW front row of the grid for this race this afternoon. Second row of the grid, Christian Engelhardt and Dries Vanthoor sitting in for Ricardo Feller, who's off doing other things. Third row of the grid, Sven Muller for Allied Racing. Dennis Marshall looking to bounce back from that DQ yesterday. Good qualifying there, though. Jack Aitken on row 4 with Arthur Rougier alongside, and on row 5 of the grid, Daniel Junkadea and Patrick Niederhauser, the 2019 GT Masters champion in the Rutronic Racing Audi. Row 6, Christian Kleen, we welcome him as a visitor, and Marco Mappelli in the T3 Motorsport Lamborghini. Marcus Winkelhoff, a legend, alongside another legend, Christopher Mies. Row 8, Mick Wieshofer and Jules Gounon, a long way back for him, a lot of work to do from row 8. Row 9, Matthias Trudy and Elias Seppänen, and Seppänen in another of the man-filtered Team Landgraf Mercedes. Jonathan Aberdeen, as already mentioned, a long way back on row 10 with Jackson Evans. We welcome him alongside Leon Kohler to the GT Masters. Then Norbert Siedler and Janis Fitcher bringing up the rear of the pack. We've got one car that has not got away, though, the number 14 car, Mick Wieshofer at the wheel, so problems there. The Lamborghini is still in the pit lane.
And it's going to have to start from there. Then it will be allowed to go to the end of the pit road but join in. Well, in doing so, it saves itself a lap of fuel, but it's also going to drop to the very back, and that's going to give Wieshofer in the first stint a big task to try and get that car back into contention. Mick Wieshofer, then the Austrian driver, clearly with a problem that kept them in the pit lane. They missed the pit lane close-up, and so that car is off the grid and in the pit lane, and will have to start at the very back. Jonathan Aberdeen, Raffaele Marciello coming into this race as the championship leaders, but they too have got work to do to maintain that advantage.
They really have, and that's going to be quite a tall order from that far back on the grid. They're going to be looking for everybody else to trip over themselves, really. You can see the rest of the points are scrolling through there. Cruton and Green just 18 points off the lead, so a good day today, and they could be troubling the top of the points chart. One car that we have already lost is the Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi at the hands of Christopher Haase. Christopher celebrated his 150th start in the ADAC GT Masters yesterday. It's not going to be 151. That car has been withdrawn from today's events, but we still have 22 GT3 machines now on the track. The air temperature 21.8 degrees. It feels hotter than that. The track 35.7 degrees. It is hot and sunny here in the Styrian Mountains. The cars are gridding up side by side. This is race 4 of a 14 race season for the ADAC GT Masters, as we ride on board with the outside front row car of Nicky Katzberg. Looking back, this safety car peels off into the pit lane. Very shortly, the two BMWs will pull up side by side. Out of turn 10 they come. They can see that steep climb up towards turn 1 ahead of them. Very shortly, those 5 red lights will go out, and we will be ready to go. They are eager at the back. The Mad Panda's looking at the back as well. We are go. The green lights are on, And we are racing. A great start from Nicholas Cruton. Nicky Katzberg not quite getting the jump. Christian Engelhardt slotting into 3rd place. The rest of the cars coming through turn 1, the scene of many dramas. It looks like they've all made it now, flat out, down towards turn 2. The roar of the cars, headlights blazing, up the steep hill to turn 3. It is Cruton who's leading the way. Katzberg having a little look on the outside. Engelhardt is there as well in 3rd place, ready to pounce. And the cars continue. They've all made it around turn 3 as well. It's BMW from BMW, but now Engelhardt coming under pressure from Dries Vanthoor in P4. The blue Audi just looking to the side of the Porsche. So here we come, the rest of the cars streaming through.
Considering the extra weight that he's carrying, Nicholas Cruton doing a very, very good job of hanging on to that lead then. We have the number 90 car under investigation for an incorrect grid position. So Janus Fitje is being looked at for his grid position, but up front, the BMWs run 1 and 2, way out wide there. Mid-pack goes one of the Audis. Wieshofer, by the way, has not yet started the race. It was a clutch change that was necessitated. That's why it was in the pits, but it's not yet left the pit lane as the cars come to turn 9. And in the background, Christian Engelhardt tees up a move on the inside of Nick Katzberg, can't find a way by as they drop down towards turn 9, through on the inside line. There, though, goes a charging Niederhauser, and at the end of lap 1, 20 kilos of weight and all, Nicholas Cruton will head them over the line.
The first 4 cars now breaking away a little bit from the rest of the pack. In fact, Nicholas Cruton breaking away from 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Dries Vanthoor looking very impatient once again, looking to the inside of Christian Engelhardt into turn 1. Vanthoor, keep an eye on him. He's a man on a mission, making his return to GT Masters for this event. But still, Cruton, well, it was a little under a second when they crossed the line. He's opening that up still. Nicky Katzberg not quite on the pace. Of course, preserving tyres, preserving brakes, preserving the cars. Very important at this early stage. There's debris into turn 3. A bit of contact between the Lamborghinis, I think. The debris has bumped off to the side. We ride on board now with Jack Aitken. Aitken, who has not had a great start, down to 11th place in the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini Huracan, looking back at the cars behind him. So Jack Aitken, not a great start to the race.
And it was his teammate Arthur Rougier that he was leaning on. Now the penalty lap is being given to number 90 Janus Fitje, as there, look, on the inside line, Dennis Marshall battles with Sven Muller, Audi versus Porsche, but up front it's Formula BMW. The 2 M4s are getting away here as they wriggle out of 7 and 8. In 3rd place is Engelhardt, 4th is Dries Vanthoor, and then 5th Dennis Marshall under real attack from Sven Muller, who gets a good run out of turn 8 in the Porsche 911. Sven Muller, as they come over the brow into 9, might be able to make a move. He thinks about it, but the inside line there claimed by Dennis Marshall. Miller's next opportunity is the inside at turn 10, and guess what? Marshall is already there, door closed, locked and bolted.
Dennis Marshall has got his elbows out today. He wants to make up for yesterday. Look at this, the fight for 3rd place in towards turn 1. Dries Vanthoor, we knew that he was lining up the Porsche in front, but still, Christian Engelhardt putting that car exactly where it needs to be. He runs wide out of turn 1, as do most of the cars. Then it's down the hill towards turn 2. Here come our leaders. They really have broken away from the rest of the pack. Surely only a matter of time before Dries Vanthoor finds a route past Christian Engelhardt. That Audi looking very impatient to the outside. He cuts back to the inside coming out of turn 3. But doesn't make it happen.
Sorry, yes, it's not only Vanthoor that's impatient, because Marshall, Muller, Juncker, Niederhauser, Clean, Winkel, they're all queued up behind. Dust is kicked up there. Janus Fitje serves his penalty lap, and lots of dust is being kicked up as people go wide. But the race-leading BMWs could not be closer. But look at the line forming for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. It's a whole train of cars. So you've got the 2 BMWs in the lead, and pretty much everybody else for 3rd at the moment.
Sven Muller and Dennis Marshall continue to jostle, and this is for 5th place. Looking back from Dennis Marshall's Audi, Sven Muller, that Porsche there looking very, very quick. Then a gap back to Daniel Juncadea, who has dropped back. The Mercedes not really having the pace. Muller just picking up a little bit of dirt on the corner. That's going to slow his progress a little as he attacks, but then he resumes, still fighting to try and get past Dennis Marshall.
Katzberg, fastest lap of the race, and you can see that that car, now slightly lighter, is working better because he's right there on the back of Cruton as coming out of turn 10 then, up towards the timing line. Danny Juncadella goes through. Christian Engelhardt still under attack from Dries Van Voor, who's not quite close enough to dive bomb the Porsche at turn 1, but he might be now on the run up towards turn 3, because that's a good run through the corner. Replay of the start. That's why Fittler got the penalty. Look, he jinked out, thought about going, then tucked back in, but he had to be behind the car directly in front of him, and he was not, hence the penalty. This was Katzberg's view. Couldn't get the jump on Cruton, but he did get the drop on everybody else. Side by side behind were Engelhardt and Van Voor. As ever, fun and games up at turn 3. The Emil Frey and T3 Lamborghinis being run out wide.
And that's Christian Klein also getting up close and personal, down in 9th place at the moment in the JP Motorsport McLaren. This is the view from pretty well the back of the pack, as Jonathan Aberdeen currently in 18th place. An awful lot of work to do there, and really an awful lot of elbows out jostling going on at the start of this race. That was the view from Christian Engelhardt's car. Some great camera shots from the bumpers here of these cars. The number 1 of Christopher Mies in P12 at the moment, but you can see him side by side with Jules Gounon, and Jules Gounon trying to make rapid progress, currently at 13th place. That was the debris that we saw flying up into the air. Still not entirely sure who that came off.
I think it was one of the corner markers that was destroyed by the leader, Nicholas Cruton. So to try and dissuade people from too much curb cutting, and it didn't work because he now demolished the marker. Anyway, Cruton leads at the end of the lap. You see how wide they go at 9, but they've got to be back on the road before they get to those markers. One is assaulted. So it's not quite an auto test, but it almost has that feel. Leaders go through with 7/10 of a second between them. Nicholas Cruton now responding and has done the fastest lap. There is also now a driving standards flag being given to Norbert Siedler for forcing another driver off the track. It's game on for 3rd place. Christian Engelhardt there in the Porsche has got one of the star Audi guns. Dries Van Voor right up behind him as they climb to turn 3, and boy, that is a climb.
It's Niklas Cruton and Nicky Katzberg who have broken away from the rest of the pack. Then that fight that we've been watching between Christian Engelhardt and Dries Van Voor, it continues to rage, the two of them away from the rest of the cars behind at the moment, with Sven Muller a little bit further behind, and Daniel Juncadella and Patrick Niederhauser there as well. Here they come though, this battle for 3rd place, Christian Engelhardt and Dries Van Voor. This is Van Voor's best opportunity while there's nobody behind ready to jump in if he gets hung out to dry alongside the car in front. Dennis Marshall having a great race at the moment, P5. Looks like he could be going forwards from there.
Absolutely right. Sven Muller has not cracked him, has he? He's still stuck in 6th. 7th is Juncadella. Niederhauser is 8th. Klein is 9th. Winkelhock runs 10th. Jack Aitken dropping to 11th ahead of Mies, Gounon, Mapelli, Rougier, who's falling further back, and up towards the end of lap number 5, with now, look, Nicholas Cruton getting away from Nick Katzberg. So having said a lap or two ago that the weight seems to be hurting a little, well, he makes a liar out of me, because 7/10 of a second last time is going to be a greater margin to the eye. Comes through now, and 9/10 it is between the BMWs. So now Nicholas Cruton getting into a rhythm, happy with the car. Its overall weight's coming down as the fuel burns off, but still that 20 kilos extra is going to be the handicap. For 3rd place, again, look, Van Voor is really good out of turn 1, but the Porsche, the rear engine 911 now, has the advantage up the hill, and it's going to be on the brakes that Van Voor makes this rather than on pure pace.
He looks to the inside, a big gap there. Christian Engelhardt not really putting up much of a fight. He tries to cut back to the inside, but Van Voor has the legs out of the corner, steals 3rd place away. It'll be interesting now to see how quickly the Audi can push away from the Porsche, but Christian Engelhardt looking to return the compliment now into the corner. He goes to the inside, ducks to the outside. He's not going to get past there, is he? Dries Van Voor has stolen away 3rd place, and Engelhardt's got it all to do to get back into that podium position. Looking at a replay of our leaders, Nicky Katzberg following in the wake of Niklas Cruton, and there is that swap of positions for P3. To remind you, if you're new to GT Masters Racing, this is very much a team sport. 25 minutes into the race, each car will be required to come into the pits. There's a 10-minute window for that opens 25 minutes into the race, and every car will need to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. What that does mean is if the driver has taken too much out of the tyres and out of the car in the first part of the race, then the second driver is going to have something less than perfect to do the second part of the race with. And Niklas Cruton said yesterday that Ben Green took an awful lot out of the tyres running on the grass and who knows where else, and he had a car that didn't have a lot of grip when he took it over.
replay here of cars running wider and wider and wider, and the 2/3 of the bollards are now gone out of turn 9. You mentioned the pits and the pit stops, which takes me back to the number 14 Lamborghini. I said it was a clutch change. Clarification has come from the team. They didn't actually change it. They tried to repair the original, thought they'd done it, and then when they engaged gear, the car didn't move. So it's now had to become a non-starter because we are 6 laps in and it's still stuck in the pit lane. So sad to say, number 14 Lamborghini Mick Vishofer is not going to take the start after all. Now these BMWs have got themselves together again, as you can see. This 8-wheel M4 comes downhill. The danger being that while they're squabbling like this, good for us to watch, but it's also good for Dries Vanthoor. He, with clear road ahead of him, might be able to catch up to Katzberg.
So will Schubert Motorsport, the historic team, the wise team, will they be saying to the drivers, stop fighting each other? It's very much on your own here, the drivers competing against each other within the team. They certainly don't want to be taking each other out, but surely you'd think that working together at this point of the race would be the better strategy.
Yeah, you're right. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because, yes, it is every man for himself, because they are coming at this as, if you like, pay drivers. They raise the budget to go racing. You have got Nick Katzberg as an example as a BMW factory driver, but ultimately it's BMW that wants a championship. So from the team's point of view, do you look after the manufacturer? Do you look after paying customers? Well, right now, it's still every man for himself, and Nicholas Cruton is being encouraged to get on with the job, but his last lap was a 29.7. Quicker than the 2 ahead of him is Dries Vanthoor. So right now, the Audi is the quickest car in that leading group. He's not yet shaken off. The Porsche, Christian Engelhardt, is still there behind him, shadowing his every move pretty much, but Vanthoor, little by little, is creeping up onto the back of the BMs.
Let's keep an eye on that 3rd place blue Audi as he creeps up on those BMWs. Engelhardt now having dropped back a little. Dennis Marshall seems to have fought off Sven Muller for the time being, but is Muller just saving himself to come back at him? Dennis Marshall in a fairly solid 5th place at the moment. You were riding there briefly with Daniel Juncadella in the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes. That was a car and a team that has come from the old Zack Speed Motorsport Racing Team, the historic type name of Zack Speed. As we ride with the drone there very briefly, we have a great drone that goes at racing speeds and follows the cars around the circuit.
Yeah, that Mercedes team, one of the partners in it, Jörg van Ormen, great successful German racer in touring cars over the years, but at the moment it is not really delivering, is it? The Mercedes needs to get a wriggle on. You've got to go quite a long way down the order to find the leading Merc. It is in 7th place, the Daniel Juncadella car, but up towards the end of the lap, Nicholas Cruton breaks the beam. That lap was a 29.8 to 29.7 from Katzberg, and Vanthoor bangs in the best lap of anybody in the race, a 29.4, so he's taken 4/10 out of the lead margin. It's 2.1 seconds, 1st to 3rd now. Now, irrespective of the Vanthoor pace, he's got to clear Katzberg at some point before he can even think about the race lead, and that's where Nick Katzberg might well have to play the team game.
It might do. Don't think he'd like to be known as the rear gunner, but that's exactly what he might need to do as Dries Vanthoor closes in. We were riding on board with Jack Aitken. He's not had the best race so far. He's sharing driving duties with Albert Costa down in P11, so not been a great start to the race for Jack Aitken. Another top driver who's out of position, Jonathan Aberdeen, down in 18th place as well. They really have not got that Mercedes dialed in. It was the pole sitter for yesterday's race, but since then it just feels like they've been going backwards. We're looking back at the Christopher Mies car from Jack Aikens, and Mies, defending champion in ADAC GT Masters, currently in 12th place. He has Yusuf Vega, no he doesn't, he has Tim Zimmerman as his co-pilot, and Tim Zimmerman will be taking over from Christopher Mies, but not really troubling the top of the points table at the moment.
Christian Engelhardt then in 4th place, just dropping away a little bit from Dries Vanthoor, not yet being caught by Dennis Marshall, but remember that Porsche is 10 kilos heavier than it was yesterday. Jonathan Aberdeen's Mercedes there, the yellow car, 5 kilos heavier after yesterday's result. There is Christian Engelhardt then 4th coming up the hill. Winner here in 2017 when he was part of the Lamborghini stable. Comes out of turn 1. And the lead gap is 7/10, and another best lap of the race done by Vanthoor. He's into the 29.2s now. He's not far off a 28 lap, and so now 2.1 seconds 1st to 3rd is down to 1.7. This is game on.
It really is. Dries Vanthoor looking to become the first Audi to win a GT Masters race here at the Red Bull Ring, and Audi looking for its 50th win in the ADAC GT Masters as well, and who better to do it than Dries Vanthoor, a man who has been on a mission for the last few years. He is always hitting the headlines when whenever he races, a very, very rapid pilot. He has Yusufa Vega as his co-driver here this weekend, but Dries Vanthoor doing a fantastic job. We ride on board with Nicky Katzberg in second place, still following in the wake of Niklas Kruten.
Right, so there is Katzberg down the hill. Vanthoor chases on behind. In the first sector, he is marginally slower than both of the BMWs, but we did see this yesterday. The BMW was really good in the first sector, which takes you up the hill towards turn 3, but then its advantage was less obvious in the second and third elements, bringing you back down the mountain towards the timing line. So in the second sector, Vanthoor is faster than the two BMWs, so anything he lost going up the hill, he gains coming back down again. There, further back, battle rages on, but looking back from Jack Aitken's Lamborghini, you can see Christopher Meeks ain't that far behind him. Leaders go through, and again, it is Vanthoor who is the quickest, so it's another 0.3 of a second pull back, and really he's doing that in 2/3 of a lap because he's not gaining particularly in the first sector.
Niklas Kruten and Nicky Katzberg, the gap between them staying very much the same, about 0.7 on each lap. But as you say, Vanthoor closing up, and you can now visibly see how much closer he is. Christian Engelhardt running very much on his own at the moment. Dennis Marshall coming under pressure once again from Sven Muller. This is the view from Nicky Katzberg. That's what 0.7 looks like out of the front windscreen under braking into the corner. Niklas Kruten looking very solid, but keep an eye on Dries Vanthoor. He is closing in 0.6 of a second between him and Nicky Katzberg. Last time they crossed the timing beam, but I think that has closed up even since then.
And I think Sven Muller is getting really bored with looking at the back of Dennis Marshall's Audi because he could barely be closer. If Dennis Marshall can feel something on his neck, it's probably Sven Muller's breath. He's that close. Into turn 7 they come. There is Sven Muller, the Porsche specialist. He was a Carrera Cup champion, both in the German and Super Cup championships, and now very much one of the star Porsche GT racers. He's trying to get past Dennis Marshall. Christian Engelhardt there, way out wide. Now look, all the track limit bollards have gone. It's open house. Fill your boots. Coming out of turn 9. Look, the marker's gone at turn 10. Open season. Now run as wide as you want, seemingly. And look at the way that Vanthoor gobbles up the real estate between his Audi and the BMWs. The gap is now 9/10. He's taken half a second out last time.
Surely only a matter of time before the second place Katzberg comes under increasing pressure. Jack Aitken has received a warning flag for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So that is just a warning, a black and white flag. But look at this, Muller to the outside of Dennis Marshall. Now will he try and cut back to the inside, almost giving him a push, but Marshall has that well anticipated, shuts the door and continues in front. But now, once again, here comes Muller. He looks to the right-hand side, to the left-hand side. He's to the inside. The inside will become the outside. Once again, he tries to cut back, almost pushing him around the corner. I'm not sure if there was contact there or not, but it was very close.
The danger is, by doing that, remember how close the radiator is to the front of a Porsche 911. One big tap and you can do a radiator. You see it in the Cup cars, it can happen in a GT car. So Sven Muller's got to be cautious about it. Dennis Marshall slows the car on the apex. Good way of defending, of course, that. But Sven Muller is getting ever more toey now to try and find a way past. He's had a look in the past at turn 9. The Audi just extends the advantage slightly, doesn't it, by about a length coming out of turn 8. But Muller, if he's thinking about making a move at turn 1, it needs to start here. He's neater out of turn 9. More liberties being taken by Dennis Marshall there, and you can see what's happened ahead. There's almost a trench being dug in the dirt on the outside of 10, and the dust is still in the air.
The bollard, a moment of silence in memory of that. That's long since gone. Track limits have been an issue all weekend. The fight between Muller and Marshall is ongoing, and that's allowing Daniel Juncadella to close in, and indeed Patrick Niederhauser, who is following in his wake. So as long as Marshall and Muller are going at it, the cars behind are closing in.
First to third went up last time. Why? Because now Dries Vanthoor has caught Nick Katzberg and he's got stuck, and he's got to go at Katzberg's pace. So this is allowing Kruten just ever so slightly to edge away. But look now, Vanthoor knows that he's got to clear Katzberg swiftly. Otherwise, Kruten's BMW is going to extend the advantage up the road. Fourth and a bit lonely is Christian Engelhardt, and then it's Dennis Marshall still with his train behind him, including Sven Muller. Then look, Juncadella and Niederhauser and Clean and Winkelhock all queued up behind.
Jack Aitken also in there as well. Christopher Mees, you just saw Jonathan Aberdeen coming through, still down in 18th place, seemingly unable to do anything about that. Our points leader really struggling in this race here, race 2 of the weekend at the Red Bull Ring. It's still Dries Vanthoor who puts the pressure on Nicky Katsburg. Nicky Katsburg in that BMW though is looking pretty solid. It's one thing to catch him, he's going to really struggle to find a route past. There's a lot of grunt in that M4, isn't there?
Absolutely so. And of course the next element to factor into all of this is who pits when. We're about 5 minutes away from the window opening. Over the timing line go the race leaders, but do you get, for example, Vanthoor in early out of traffic? I would say no, because he's quicker than his co-driver. You want to leave him into the end. But if Katsburg is being delayed by having to defend, maybe Schubert will get him out of the battle, put Jesse Krohn in and try and get him out of position. It's going to be really interesting to see who does what when that window opens. Right now, this is Katsburg's view. 9/10ths up the road now is Cruton. Right behind him is Vanthoor, but first to third is stretching again now that you've got Katsburg going defensive.
Yes, and the pit window just less than 5 minutes away will be very strategic in this, and I'm going to be interested to see what Schubert do, because surely Dries Vanthoor is going to stay in the car for as long as possible. Christian Engelhardt, he's just there, he's just waiting, and he'll be handing over to Aynchan Guven. They were a potent combination yesterday, finishing on the podium in 2nd place, as again Dries Vanthoor closes in on Nicky Katsburg, but still nothing going on at the moment. Katsburg is proving to be quite the roadblock for the Audi,
which is exactly what he needs to be for the Schubert team now. So let one car escape, and now we have a driving standards flag for Nick Katsburg for leaving the track at turn 9 with an advantage. So he extended the margin a bit by going wider coming out of this corner, turn 9, a lap or so ago. So Cruton it is, still with the advantage. You can see how wide they go onto the patriotically painted runoff area at turn 10. And back on again, but yeah, it does make a mockery really of the fact there's a bit of tarmac there, because they are all the wrong side of the curb, but sad to say it's accepted practice on that corner. Leader goes through, 11/10ths to the good, and so now Vanthoor is 1.8 seconds back. Remember, it was 0.9, and it's now virtually back to where we started when he cleared the Porsche.
So is he holding back to save himself, to save the tyres? Are they waiting for the pit window to open? Has he done what he can do? But Christian Engelhardt has used that moment to close in on Dries Vanthoor.
It might be Vanthoor backing out of it just a little, get himself some clear air, get the temperatures down again, because the longer he's stuck behind Katsburg, the hotter the car will get, the less responsive it's going to be.
Look at Jules Gounon, 2 wheels onto the grass, through the billboard. Jules Gounon, he is impatient as he tries to get past Christopher Mees for P12. Christopher Mees, a hard man to pass. Jules Gounon, he is not one for hanging about. He looks to the outside of the Audi, but he can't get through. Christopher Mees stays in front, but Jules Gounon even taking to the grass to try and get past.
And the almost camouflage Mercedes with its green back, but we saw it, so Jules Gounon goes one side, then the other. He needs to try to get the inside all the way down the hill here. Easier said than done, but he's applying the pressure to the hugely experienced Christopher Mees. This was how it all started. It's so wide in, tight out, tries to get that undercut. Plans seemed to work, but Christopher Mees kept on coming. Gounon's committed, takes to the grass, clips the Audi, demolishes that board, didn't get the place.
So Jules Gounon, he doesn't back out for anybody, does he? He was the winner of race 2 at Oschersleben for round 1. He was really hoping to do the same today, but has not been able to find the kind of pace that he wanted in qualifying. You can see a graphic on your screen there, race laps for Wales in Africa. It is an initiative between the Best Water Technologies BWT in cooperation with the ADAC. For every completed race lap in the ADAC GT Masters, BWT and the ADAC jointly donate €4 to Be Water mission, and that is a mission that is part of Aquapols, and it is providing clean drinking water in mainly rural areas of Gambia and Tanzania, thereby ensuring that that clean drinking water is accessible to everybody. €60,000 was raised last year on that initiative. A wonderful thing that the ADAC are doing in collaboration with BWT.
Absolutely so. Now Dries Vanthoor being caught very definitely by Christian Engelhardt now, so that gap 3rd to 4th coming down as you look down at the turn 6 approach. rest of the pack flashes through, with Christian Klein going a little bit wide in the McLaren there, which might just give Marcus Winkelhock a chance to challenge. There going through is Christian Engelhardt. That car coming back into the mix, isn't it? Because that now is only 2.8 seconds off the lead. It did seem to be fading, but as you get to the end of this opening stint, first to fourth now starts to Constantine. The last lap from Engelhardt was 29.9. Okay, not quite on a Cruton pace, but he is closing again on to the tail of Vanthor and starting to chip away at that deficit to the race-leading BMWs as the pit lane opening is imminent.
So 45 seconds away from that pit window opening. This is where the strategy is really going to count. Will the teams keep the drivers out to later in the window? Remember, they've got 10 minutes in which to come into the pits and have that stop and driver change, or will they come in early? Cruton, well, he won't be in a hurry to come in. He's doing a great job out front, but Katzberg and Vantor, that is going to be the question. Also, Sven Muller, who is continuing to challenge Dennis Marshall. Dennis Marshall still in 5th place. Muller has been nibbling away at the back of that Audi for the entire race, but still can't find a route past. Is this the moment? Around turn 2 they come, once again in the slipstream, once again to the outside, tries to trick him out there, tries to cut back in. That is to turn 4, not 3, turn 4, and through they come, but still Dennis Marshall holding on to the position. Sven Muller again to the outside into the runoff area, being careful not to exceed track limits. Marshall, he's just doing a solid job there, isn't he?
Soaking up the pressure, not putting a wheel wrong. Pit window is open, so now the interest will be who comes in this time. Muller hooks a wheel through the gravel, so also does Junqueira. Gravel is spat back onto the racetrack. This is Junqueira's view as that grunt and go Mercedes crests the brow into turn 9. But Dennis Marshall being really impressive here, running well up the order. Muller gets out of the traffic, so Sven Muller comes in early then to make the stop. Down the pit road he comes, and the leader is in as well, interestingly. So Nicholas Cruton comes in to give way to Ben Green, and also then down the pit road comes Sven Muller to hand over to Joel Sturm. That's an interesting one.
That is an interesting one, because with an open track in front of him, I expected the leader to stay out a bit longer. What do I know? Ben Green is there, ready. Nicholas Cruton out of the car. His work is done for this weekend. What a great job he has done too. Now Ben Green into the seat. Jonathan Aberdeen also into the pits from a long way back in the pack, but Raffaele Marciello, the man with the blonde hair, the Charger, who's not scared to get his elbows out, will be jumping into that seat, and he will see if he can make a bit more progress in the man-filtered Team Landgraf Mercedes AMG. He finished 3rd yesterday. You'd think he'd finish last by his body language and the look on his face. He's only interested in winning as we look again at that replay of Muller just picking up a bit of gravel. He now, having handed over to Joel Sturm, he created a storm at Oschersleben when he debuted in the GT Masters last time out, and will be good to see what he can do. Obviously Dennis Marshall still out at the moment. He will hand over to Kim Louis Schramm when he comes into the pits.
65.3 seconds, the pit stop to relay Ben Green from Nicholas Cruton, so nicely timed. It was 65.1 from Allied to get Joel Sturm back onto the road. So Katzberg now leads, but Dries Vanthor is coming back at him. That margin is 0.6 of a second. So what we now need to be looking at are their lap times relative to Ben Green on his first flying lap. Not this one, but the next one. Into the pits has now come Christian Klein to give way to Dennis Lind.
So as a result of the pit stop, it is Nicky Katzberg who leads the way, but he will still need to stop. Looking at the view from Christian Engelhardt, running in 3rd place at the moment. Dries Vantor ahead of him, closing in right into the pits comes that JP Motorsport McLaren, and it's Christian Klein handing over to Dennis Lind. Dennis Lind, who got a 5th and a 15th place on his race here at the Red Bull Ring this time last year. He hasn't appeared in GT Masters since then, but he knows his way around here. He's giving the locals, as indeed are that team, something to cheer about.
Door closes. Christian Klein walks away. Nicholas Cruton there discusses life with the Schubert team, and also starts to think about looking at data in a minute, because he will want to see exactly what Ben Green is capable of doing as there Dennis Lind makes his way down the pit road. He's won most of his championships in Lamborghinis, but no longer a Lamborghini factory driver. He's a gun for hire and really enjoying this McLaren. So out on track it goes. In the background you've got Maximilian Powell, and there is the race leader running way wide. Nick Katzberg then, as he tries to shake off Dries Vanthor. stays out for another lap, as also does Christian Engelhardt in 3rd place. So here the drivers maximising their time behind the wheel. They lap in the 29s in the case of the top 2 and a 1:30 for Engelhardt.
I imagine that Nicky Katzberg is going to be quite late into the pits. I can't see the team wanting to bring him in too much of a hurry. Dries Vanthoor will be highly frustrated by that, but the number 20 Schubert BMW at the front of the pack at the moment. He has clear air in front of him. He has no reason to come in at this time. Dries Vanthoor still there. Christian Engelhardt still in 3rd place. Marshall and Juncker continue on their way. We can see Nicky Katzberg, we ride on board with him. The concentration in his eyes, but he is doing exactly what he needs to do out at the front.
Turns then up towards the turn 4 approach then at the bottom of the hill. There, Christian Engelhardt still chipping away as well. Right, Ben Green has just gone through, incidentally, onto a flying lap, his first flying lap after his pit stop. So now the lap time is going to be significant to compare against the top 3. Nick Katzberg then clear road ahead of him. His best lap is a 29.5. His last was a 29.7. But really for him, the problem is having to place the car so that no one gets past him, rather than being able to concentrate exclusively on what you might call qualifying style laps. Into turn 9 he comes. Let's see if anybody bails for the pit lane. Yes, Engelhardt in the background comes in. So the Porsche from 3rd into the pit road.
The Team Use Sportwagen Technique will be handed over to Ian Chen-Guven, who comes from Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Very impressive indeed, as he's got used to driving in GT Masters. You'll see the little clock that's ticking down at the side of the driver's name on the graphic. That is because there is a minimum pit stop time of 65 seconds, and the team work incredibly hard to time it exactly, because every 10th of a second counts. They want to waste the minimum amount of time in the pits, but if they go below the 65 seconds, they're going to pick up a penalty. So there are still 11 cars still yet to come into the pits.
Ben Green's first flying lap, 7/10 slower than Dries Vanthoor's last lap. So, in other words, that gap between them is closing, because you've got Ben Green getting up to speed, you've got Dries Vanthoor very much at speed, even though he's still stuck behind Nick Katzberg. So, it really is going to be interesting to see how that pans out after the stops as Ian Chen-Guven blasts away. But then, of course, you factor in Ben Green's pace relative to the lap times that Josef Vega can do, and it's probably in that respect advantage Green.
Yes, but Green is running out on open track at the moment. He's not got a lot of traffic in front of him as he comes along the pit straight up towards turn 1. We've still got 11 drivers yet to come into the pits. They've got just under 3 3/4 minutes in which to do that. Then we will see where it all shakes out. There is the Allied racing car of Joel Sturm, who's taken over from Sven Muller. And Joel Sturm really has taken to this. He was very impressive in GT4 last year. Again, as we look at Nicky Katzberg and Dries Vanthoor. Now is Dries Vanthoor going for a last push before he makes his mandatory stop. Dries Vanthoor close to Nicky Katzberg, 0.3 of a second last time across the line. Dries Vanthoor on a charge. I think both these cars may well go to the end of the window and come in together. Nicky Katzberg, who is leading this race at the moment from Dries Vanthoor. Dennis Marshall up to 3rd on account of the 91 car coming into the pits. That is our race leader, the BMW, with Nicky Katzberg at the wheel. Dries Vanthoor looking very, very eager.
But certainly Vanthoor has a chance, as does Katzberg, of jumping ahead of the other Schubert BMW because of their relative pace at the moment compared to what Ben Green is doing as he gets himself up to speed. Remember, these two are much more experienced in GT3 terms. So Ben Green yesterday was able to focus right from the start. Here you've got that slightly less advantageous position of being thrown into the car, and you've got to deliver straight away. I know that's the case at the start, but you know, you've done the formation lap, you sat there on the grid, you've had time to get yourself ready, whereas being thrown into the car for the second stint is a different mindset for a driver. And right now Ben Green is pressing on, but are the lap times good enough? But he's still lapping in the 30s. In comes Vanthoor, and he's been consistently in the 29s, so let's see where that Audi rejoins relative to the black and green BMW. Down the pit road comes Vanthoor.
So Vanthoor keeping to the strict speed limit of 50 kilometres an hour. Also in is Dennis Marshall. So they haven't run right to the end of the pit window. Nicky Katzberg will have to come in next time around. But Vanthoor, in he comes. And it's Yusuf Vega who will be on standby to take over. This is going to be a lot of pressure for Yusuf Vega, but he knows how to do it because he won race 1 of the season at Oschersleben with Ricardo Feller as his co-driver. Dries Vanthoor climbs out of the Monteplas by Land Audi, and Yusuf Vega jumps in. Now Dries Vanthoor helps him to get buckled up, get him plugged in. There are only 2 mechanics allowed to work on the car outside of the drivers. You can see the seat insert there because they are of different builds, body builds. And now Vega is in, plugged in. The countdown clock continues. The thumbs up will be given. The Audi bursts into life. It pulls out of the pit lane, back to the 50 kilometres an hour speed limit, and rejoins. You can see Ben Green coming through now up into turn 1, and behind him is Ian Changuven.
It's going to be close, isn't it? But Ben Green will just about hang on to the advantage. But you can see now that the Audi is very, very close. Now, who is going to be the quicker of those two? But Guven, we know, is a real gun in a Porsche. So he is still in with a good chance of getting ahead of Vega. The next one we need to see is now Joel Sturm does get himself up past Kim Louis Schramm. So that's a pace change that has been happening with the co-drivers. Didn't happen with the original drivers. The Porsche finally clears the Audi. Katzberg is in to give way to Jesse Krohn out of the race lead. Where will this car blend back in? That's the next fascination.
So Katzberg comes to a stop in the pits. It's Jesse Krohn who is on standby, another experienced GT3 pilot, and this will be very strong.
Dries Vanthoor, Josef Vega under investigation for a pit stop infringement. So the Audi is being looked at. Now, it's not for the time, it is for another offence. The pit window is now closed, but there's a question mark now over the efforts of Vanthoor and Vega. There they are, but this is going to give the advantage back to the BMWs, isn't it?
This is going to be very significant. It's not normally investigated unless they've got something fairly significant to look at. And so we'll keep an eye on our screens, let you know what happens there. We're following Ben Green as he comes around turn 10 and along past the pit straight. Jesse Krohn is rolling and moving along the pit lane. Ben Green, I think, is going to be past the exits of the pits long before the other BMW comes through.
But the question is whether or not the Audi can jump ahead on the pit stops. There's Vega going way wide. He's not done it. So Jesse Krohn hangs on to second place. So the order out of the top 4 is exactly the same as it was before the pit stops, except Vega is now being given a penalty lap for that. So the pit stop infringement is now going to result in a penalty. The penalty box comes out of this corner, in fact. Well, there is Vega, but all the opportunity to take the place is about to unravel, because next time around he's going to have to take that, and that plays into the hands of Guven to gain a place.
So he will have to pass through that white box that you saw painted on the track at no more than 60 kilometres an hour. It's only 200 metres long, but it'll feel like a very, very long 200 metres to him as he slows down and allows the cars behind to get past. So that is because of that pit stop infringement. Now, what it was, we don't know, but it might have been having too many people working on the car or going back to it after they closed the door. Anything, there is a whole number of regulations that are laid down, and you break one of those and it's to the penalty box. Here comes our leader.
Strange that Land would have done something like that, because Wolfgang Land's team, very, very experienced, very successful, of course, with lots of victories over the years in this championship. Initially with Porsches, because that's what Wolfgang Land used to race, win titles in himself, and then with Audi. So Guven then inching up onto the back of Vega. So remember that Josef Vega didn't qualify that well yesterday, which kind of gives you an indication of his pace. Ben Green had been on the second row of the grid, and now he is lapping in the 29. So he's at exactly the right kind of pace. Jesse Krohn goes through in second. He's on his first flying lap now, but it's game on for third, where Vega is being reeled in by Guven. Really, the Porsche wants the Audi to take that penalty on this lap, so he doesn't waste time squabbling and clears him, really allowing him a good passage up onto the back of Nick Katzberg, Jesse Krohn's BM.
Vega will need to take that penalty within 3 laps of it being awarded. He doesn't on this lap either, so still Ian Changuven is left frustrated. The lead gap is up to over 2 seconds. Ben Green looking to become the first driver, Ben Green and Niklas Kruijsen being the first driver pairing to win 2 races on the same weekend since 2018. The last time that happened, it was Daniel Karlwitz and Mick Wieshofer, and it was here at the Red Bull Ring. So Ben Green and Niklas Kruijsen would love to have that record against their names. Still, Arjan Guven is frustrated by Yusufa Vega, and maybe the team are dragging it out as long as possible to back Arjan Guven up as much as possible before he makes that visit to the penalty box.
Very possibly, but the chances are that he's going to lose out anyway because the Porsche is the faster. But Ben Green doing another outstanding job here, building the gap all the while over Nick Katzberg. Then for third place, Vega versus Guven. So if Arjan Guven had clear track space ahead of him, what lap times could that Porsche generate? Because it was a quick car yesterday in his hands. Ben Green goes through, building that gap up to 2.8 seconds over Jesse Krohn. Third is Vega. Guven runs in fourth. Now the Porsche lapping in the 1 minute 30s, but yeah, getting away inexorably now is Ben Green.
So Ben Green, despite that success ballast that he is carrying, is showing the way. Now Arjan Guven getting a little bit impatient with Yusufa Vega in front of him. Up in towards turn 3 they come, and still Vega doesn't take that penalty box visit. Now it's 3 laps since it's been awarded is when they need to come in. I think that next time will be the time he has to go through it, unless the team are appealing it in some way. But this is going to be very significant, certainly in terms of podium positions in this race.
Absolutely right. I mean, it came on the screen just before they got to turn 3 on that original lap, so we'll discount that. Therefore, they've had 2 passings of it, so you're right, third time it's got to be. Otherwise, the team, never mind Vega himself, are going to be in hot water. But Guven knows this is going against him now. He's got good pace, but he can't find a way past the Audi. There's no reason that Vega should make life easy for him, I'll grant you, but he does need to take that penalty.
So we'll keep an eye on this as they head up again towards turn 9, but still it's not happened, but surely this time round it will. Our leader is still Ben Green. Last time across it was 2.817 seconds, now 2.9, so he continues to stretch his legs over his fellow Schubert Motorsport BMW. In third place still Yusufa Vega, carrying that penalty that he has to visit the penalty box. In fourth place Arjan Guven, increasingly frustrated. You can almost see the steam coming out of his ears as he follows Yusufa Vega, and Joel Sturm in 5th place. Kim Louis Schramm in 6th after that takeover from Dennis Marshall continues on his way. Still Vega does not visit the penalty box, so there must be some kind of appeal going on, but if he doesn't take the penalty, there's going to be a bigger one incoming, probably a drive-through.
I didn't think you could appeal those. I thought once that kind of penalty was issued, it was there. So the team might be arguing about it, but either way, this is bad news for Guven. You're riding on board with Marciello at the moment, and Raffaele Marciello is way down in 15th place. Now, he's got the chance of gaining places before the end, but this has been a really tough weekend for the Manfield Mercedes squad.
It has, hasn't it? As Max Paul just gets into the back of Christopher Mies. Ahead of it, it's not Christopher Mies, Tim Zimmermann who's taken over that car now from Christopher Mies. But Raffaele Marciello looking to the outside, takes advantage of a bit of contact between them. Tim Zimmermann just in front, but Marciello moving up 1 position. He is not used to being this far back down the grid. Looking back at the number 71 car of Max Paul. A big queue of cars behind. Marciello getting his elbows out to move forward. Tim Zimmermann is going to struggle to hold off the storm that is Raffaele Marciello.
Nose to tail then, those 2 Lamborghinis, different teams. So Maximilian Paul taking over from Marco Mappelli, comes over the timing line under attack, and he's on his toes because the danger is from Pereira is going to clear him before much longer. Marciello on the back of Zimmermann, while Raffaele more experienced in GT terms than Tim Zim is, the former F4 racer. Up front, Ben Green leading by 2.8 seconds, and drama there for Thierry Vermeulen. Has he got a puncture?
It does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Thierry Vermeulen took over Matthias Drudy, currently towards the back of the pack, now very much at the back of the pack as a result of going slowly, maybe a puncture. Just looking again, and it still doesn't look as though Vega has passed through the penalty box. seeing where he is out on track, and no, he hasn't this time around. So the stewards are going to be having a big discussion about that. Just keep calm and drive, and that's the great advice for Ben Green. That's exactly what he's doing. He's keeping calm, he's driving, he's at the front of the pack. He's nearly 3 seconds ahead of his teammate Jesse Krohn, fellow Schubert Motorsport driver. Out of turn 9 and 10 he comes now. It says radio on that board. I wonder if there's been a radio failure and they haven't been able to get the message to Vega, because it said radio, and they're going to hang it over.
That's very possible. So they're trying to get his attention. They can't really say penalty lap because that doesn't really work on a board. It's too much to read. But they're trying to get him to talk on the radio or listen on the radio, or that. Again, they'll have to get that information to race control. But the problem is the penalty has been issued. The penalty is not being adhered to. It doesn't really matter why not. It's not. So yeah, the danger is now that with so many laps of ignoring that penalty box because the message seemingly does not get through, that the next stage becomes ever more draconian. And now he does suddenly he's heard it. How strange.
So it doesn't allow for the radio not working, does it? Yusuff Vega finally takes that penalty lap. He loses the position to Ian Changuven. He hasn't lost a lot of ground, but he's certainly lost a position. So Vega has done that and continues on his way. Now the question is, they clearly went over 3 laps. Will there be a further penalty incoming?
Interesting if they will be. Replay from Albert Costa's car. Looking back, you see all the gravel kicked into the air. Albert Costa goes through, taking over from Jack Aitken, and that car is another one trying to chip its way forward. 10th place. Marciello now on the attack against Tim Zimmermann for 13th place down the hill, and all of the talk from the Mercedes carries him on the outside line, but the tighter line, the shorter line, is claimed back by Zimmermann in the Audi. Marciello run off the racetrack there. He got onto the marbles. You could see how dusty it was, and eventually the grip goes away. Marciello slid even wider through the gravel, so he comes back onto the road on dirty tyres and struggles as a consequence.
You can sense the frustration in Raffaele Marciello. He is not used to being that far back in the pack. He is a championship contender along with Jonathan Aberdeen. The pole position yesterday looked so promising. The P3 at the end of the race seemed pretty promising, but this is not what he was looking for. He lines up Zimmermann once again. He's got to get those tyres cleaned up as they head up the hill towards turn 1, but he's still a long way back. Round the very tight turn 1 they come, and out onto turn 2. It will be foot to the floor all the way around turn 2 and up the hill towards turn 3, and that will be another opportunity to get past. Here is a replay of Marciello just getting it sideways out onto the gravel, sliding that Mercedes AMG, keeps his toe buried in it like a true racer. No backing off here.
I would say that was self-induced. It wasn't really Zimmermann running him out wide. Tim Zimmermann had the line. Marciello stayed on the outside, but it was so dusty that he just ran out of traction and slithered off the road. He's going to have another go at it, but it might be the same outcome, of course, as they drop down towards turn 4. Zimmermann learning his craft pretty effectively here and being able to repel the challenge of one of the best GT3 racers that there is. Further up the road, by the way, Guven is catching Krohn for 2nd place, and Marciello doesn't actually make an attempt at turn 6 this time. Thinks better of it, tries to work out another plan.
So we're looking at that battle further back, and it is for 13th place. Zimmermann, who is in 13th in the Audi, and again across the curbing, across the dirt. You see the dirt going flying, and there's a sense of a little bit of impatience further back through the pack. Behind Marciello is Max Paul and Frank Pereira, Leon Köhler in there as well. We haven't even mentioned him yet, who takes over in the ID Racing Porsche. At a turn 10, past the imaginary Marco Bollard and down past the pits towards turn 1. Again, we see Marciello getting it up on 2 wheels as he bounces across the curbs.
You're right about the frustration. The trouble is that's not doing anything any good. It's not doing the aero any good. It's not doing the tyres any good. It's not doing his general headspace any good either. And there's nothing else he can do now apart from try and overtake. He can't do anything on pit stop strategy. And the frustration is now, with 13 minutes to go, that he's just stuck there for the afternoon, try as he might. There behind, Maximilian Paul is hanging on to position and keeping at bay Frank Pereira, who's being given a driving standards flag for leaving the circuit and gaining an advantage. Up front, Ben Green is 2.5 seconds to the good, but actually last time was being caught by both Krohn and Guven.
Yes, so the pace just dropping off a little bit. It might be that Ben Green is seeing the tyres just wearing a little bit towards the end of this race. Is this a little bit of revenge from Nicolas Cruton for what he was handed yesterday? Ben Green having the car for the second stint. We're looking at the two Lamborghinis run side by side again from Pereira and Max Paul. Around the outside is Max Paul in the number 71 car. Pereira still stays in 16th place. He slides through the debris. Now Leon Köhler in his debut in GT Masters in the Porsche getting involved as well. Are they going to go three abreast? Köhler tries to squeeze through, can't quite make it. In the background is Frankie Bird in the Mercedes. Four cars absolutely glued together. Out of turn 10 they come. It's still Max Paul at the head of that queue. Down past the pit straight they come. And Leon Köhler doing a great job in the Porsche. He hadn't even sat in the GT3 car prior to this event, and he's taken over that seat and is performing very well. Max Paul in 15th, Köhler in 16th. Again, lining him up. Around turn 2 they come, picking up the slipstream. He looks to the outside, to the inside in any way he can. Heavy braking under turn 3. Will he try and chop through to the inside? He can't, because there's another Lamborghini there. He tries to hang it out on the outside, onto the dirt. Max Paul trying to fend him off and still holds on to that position.
Good defensive driving by Maximilian Paul there to just fend him off, to squeeze him a little bit towards the grass, knowing that for that moment that he was on the dirt, the traction would be not quite so good. From Pereira then, having been mugged a lap ago, tries to fight back. Frank Bird 18th on the back of this queue of cars. It all started really, as you saw, when Frank Pereira got slightly offline, where it was all dusty again. As all those cars go through the gravel through turns 7 and 8, there's really only one racing line now, because that's the cleanest one. The gravel keeps being spat across the road. Get onto it and you're in strife. This was Leon Köhler on the outside line. Couldn't go around the outside, couldn't really get the undercut, of course, because he was briefly ahead on that longer line, but then ran out of road. And off he goes onto the runoff tarmac. But then look, there's no space afforded to him by the Lamborghini of Maximilian Paul. That means he's got to take to the dirt, and that just cost him a 10th, and that's enough to maintain momentum for the Lamborghini, which in turn keeps its place.
Great performance from Leon Köhler, though. He has taken over that seat. Klaus Bachler and Robert Renauer were in the ID Racing plus Herbert Motorsport Porsche, but there has been a parting of the ways between those two teams as we look at a place change further up. Jan Marszałkowski and Luca Engstler. So Luca Engstler and Marszałkowski fighting. I think that Marszałkowski had just got past. Engstler retakes that position, but now Marszałkowski looks to the side of the Rutronic Audi under braking into turn 4, tucks back in, has to be very careful because Dennis Lind is there ready to take advantage. And now this time Jan Marszałkowski on the inside, they bounce off each other. He keeps it going though. Jan Marszałkowski, who comes from GT4 Germany, Luca Engstler, who comes from TCR Germany, both of them making their debut this year in the series. And it goes to Marszałkowski. That is P7.
But Dennis Lind is right behind them, and he comes from the School of Hard Knocks. Look, he's about to have a go. Looks to the inside line, coming towards turn 9. The McLaren lines up and levels with Engstler. Through goes Dennis Lind. So that was an easy pass. Goes wide. Engstler goes wide as well. And Albert Costa is there also. Through turn 10 now. So the McLaren is up into now 8th spot, comes over the timing line, and as he goes through, Dennis Lind starts to attack the Mercedes, making the climb up the hill. Good racing, this.
It's great, and never take your eyes off Albert Costa Balboa. He is a pure entertainer. He said that he's the wild one and that Jack Aitken is the sensible one, and they're a bit yin and yang with each other, and they are proving to be quite a good combination. 10th place at the moment, Albert Costa Balboa at the back of that queue. He's looking to jump all of them. Raffaele Marciello, Mr. Frustrated. He is unbelievably frustrated with that Audi in front, with Tim Zimmermann at the wheel. Again, he looks to the outside, but is he going to cut back to the inside? And still, he can't find that route past. Again, he runs wide. The frustration. Raffaele Marciello needs to take a deep breath. He picks up a slipstream again towards turn 4. Tim Zimmermann moves to the outside. There's a gap on the inside now, and still Tim Zimmermann holds it off. And Marciello once again is left staring at the back of that car. How is he going to find get the route past?
I'm not sure he is. He's running out of ideas. I mean, again, tries the outside line. It was a clear line in terms of no traffic, but he didn't have the traction, so the car slithered a little bit. Again, there's a wheel hooked over the curb. The biggest problem is the Mercedes is not a compliant car. He's having to wring its neck. The best Mercedes is only 7th. They are really struggling around here. In replay, you saw Dennis Lynn there getting up on the inside at turn 9 to take 8th place away from Luca Engschler. But Marciello's frustration is as much with being mired down in 14th place as it is in that the car just isn't delivering for him.
The rest of the cars come through. You can see still Tim Zimmermann, Marciello behind, then Max Paul, then Leon Köhler, who I was about to tell you was sharing driving duties with Jackson Evans, who joins this series. The two of them have replaced Klaus Bachler and Robert Renauer as a result of the parting of the ways between Herberth and ID Racing. Hopefully we'll see Herberth back before too long on the grid. Again, we ride with Raffaele Marciello as they head up the hill again towards turn 3, again on the outside, again Tim Zimmermann has the perfect line through, again Marciello has to drop back, still staring at the back of that car. Marciello not showing a great deal of patience. I can't help feeling the frustration is actually slowing him down a little bit.
Tim Zimmermann is doing a good job of defending, though, because he's claiming the line, and even though he might not be as quick, he's defending well. He slows on the apex to make Marciello's life difficult coming out of the corner, and there really is no extra performance in that Mercedes that's going to allow Raffaele to get through. He's going to have to do this by trying to force a mistake out of Zimmermann. And each lap the pressure mounts, granted, but each lap that Marciello is unsuccessful in applying the pressure and forcing a mistake, the more secure Zimmermann looks.
Absolutely, Zimmermann doing a solid job. You can see the frustration. What did we say? Marciello banging the steering wheel in frustration. That's not going to make him go any faster.
But it's not, nothing Zimmermann is doing wrong. He is absolutely legitimately fighting for that place. Marciello's frustration is that the Mercedes, bottom line, is not fast enough. And look, that's resignation, never mind frustration. All he's now doing is driving to the end of the race.
He is, and he's not going to pick up points. He's not going to get many points. They pay down to P15. 14th at the moment will get him 2 points. They were the championship leaders coming into this. They are not going to be the championship leaders coming out of it if things remain as they are. Again, around turn 2. Again, this is very much as you were. Again, Tim Zimmermann holding to that line. Marciello to the outside. He's going to have to do something different to get past that car, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's not a dirty driver, so yeah, there's the frustration. He's got the drag up the hill, but the Audi is just quick away from the corners, and Marciello's frustration is palpable, isn't it? I mean, you can almost hear it now. So Tim Zimmermann hangs onto the position. Marciello has never worked so hard for so little. The only consolation is that he's keeping everybody else at bay. Maximilian Powell is a little bit busy, but yeah, Marciello will tell you, were he ahead of that Audi, he'd be able to make progress and pull away. Well, okay, but the car's not been quick all weekend. This is about where it is.
No, and he is a true racer through and through. Anything less than first place is not good enough for him. Finished on the podium yesterday, and it looked like he'd finished last.
Yeah.
The frustration that he has, almost it's his worst enemy, because he's starting to get ragged, and he's hanging it out, and he's out on the dirt, and he's not going to go forwards as long as he is banging the steering wheel. Look at the lead that Ben Green has. 4.1 seconds over Jesse Krohn. So Jesse Krohn has dropped back from our leader Ben Green and is coming under pressure from Iron Chen Guven and Joel Sturm. So second, third and fourth really have closed up. This is not all over for the podiums yet.
No, it's not. Guven chipping away against Jesse Krohn, all of which of course enables Ben Green to be 4 seconds to the good up the road. 4 more minutes to go as Guven heads down the hill then. He's trying to attack, but also he's got to be mindful of Joel Sturm. Now that Allied Porsche has really gone nicely in the second stint, helped in part by the penalty for a Vega, but bearing in mind that it took Sven Muller all of his stint not to get ahead of Dennis Marshall, so Joel Sturm has been able to carry on that good work, and there he is now in the fight to be the top Porsche.
Vega is some 6.5 seconds back from this battle. You look as Jesse Krohn goes out onto the dirt, a bit of a wobble on there. So all not perfect in that BMW. That's allowed Iron Chen Guven to close up even further. Guven looking to repeat his second place from yesterday. Jesse Krohn starting to look a little bit under threat from the two Porsches behind. Joel Sturm, he's there and ready to pounce. Across the line they come. Let's have a look at the gap between first and second. It's come down a little, but still over 4 seconds between Ben Green and Jesse Krohn in second.
And Ben Green can afford, if he wants, to back off the pace a little bit here, because even if they start to close, there's no suggestion that Jesse Krohn's going to let those two Porsches past easily. So Ben Green not only has a gap, he's also got the protection of his teammate there in second place. So it is 60 minutes plus a lap. We've got 2 3/4 of the time still to go, 2 3/4 minutes on the timed element, plus the regulation lap. As you see, Vega then ahead of Kim Louis Schramm, Jan Marszalkowski, Dennis Lind in 8th, 9th is Albert Costa, 10th Luca Engschler. And still Raffaele Marciello then, he's still trying to find a way past Tim Zimmerman, but look what, oh finally there's a gap on the inside, but he just doesn't have to drive out of the corner. And look what's happening behind, he's been reeled in now by the next gaggle of cars, Paul Curler Pereira.
So Curler doing a great job there in the Porsche. He could be in the points by the end of this race, particularly if Marciello runs out of patience completely. I'm kind of worried about what he's going to do in the next 2 minutes plus 1 lap. There's Max Paul, who is getting very close to Marciello, looking back from the number 48 yellow Mamba Mercedes. Still frustrated by Tim Zimmerman, who is doing an absolutely solid job. He took over from Christopher Mies, the defending champion in GT Masters, 2-time champion in fact. Tim Zimmerman learning from the master and just driving a great line with that Audi.
So Marciello once more sees the gap stretch. He'll close under braking, but that Mercedes just does not have the pace. Marszalkowski is in 7th place. Fabian Schiller currently is in 12th, and that is why Marszalkowski is up into 7th again, because Dennis Lind got a bit ragged coming out of turn 7 and hooked it through the gravel, so the McLaren fell back to 9th behind Albert Costa. 2 places lost there from Dennis the Menace. Tiny little mistake. That's what Marciello is trying to force out of Zimmerman in order to capitalise.
And he's not having a lot of luck with it at the moment, is he? There's the 1, 2, 3, 4 all in the same shot, but you can see the gap between first and second. Krohn has now broken away a little bit from Guven, and Joel Sturm a last assault on the Porsche in front of him. The two similar cars running for the last of the podium positions. Joel Sturm making his debut in GT Masters this year, as is Ayhancan Guven. Both have taken to it like a duck to water. Ayhancan Guven currently in P3, Joel Sturm behind him. Sturm still looking in any way he can, but Guven has proven to be very, very solid. Catching him, getting past him, 2 completely different things.
Absolutely right. So those Porsches evenly matched, whereas Jesse Krohn in the BMW that was fastest on the Friday free practice has never really looked as good come race or qualifying as the lead car that Ben Green hustles along. So up to the end of the lap comes Guven, conscious of exactly where Joel Sturm is in the mirror. Ben Green goes through them into the last lap of the timed part of the race, because we've got 10 seconds still on the clock, so there is this lap and 1 more, and he leads by 4.2 seconds.
Ben Green looking to become the first repeat winner in the same weekend of GT Masters since 2018. It was Daniel Karvitz and Martin Kirchhofer who had that record, but that looks like it could be broken. Ben Green, Nicolas Cruton, who lead the way in this race. Jesse Krohn in second, and still Ayhancan Guven, his mirrors full of Joel Sturm. The storm is incoming for B3, but still Guven is holding on to that spot.
To turn 4 they come then. Again to the outside line goes Joel Sturm sideways. I think what he tried to do there was get the undercut, but as he turned it, the back broke away, so that didn't work, and it gives Guven a stay of execution.
Those tyres are now getting very tired indeed, and still Sturm is in that 4th place. So the leader, Ben Green, Jesse Krohn, Ayhancan Guven. The clock has struck 0. We have the additional lap to run, and then it'll be Ben Green's run to the flag. All he needs to do is keep doing what he's doing now. 4.2 seconds over second place. Christian Engelhardt looks on nervously as Ayhancan Guven holds on to that final podium position. 7, and Joel Sturm going really wide out of turn 9, wide out of turn 10. You do wonder if those tyres have cried enough in that Porsche that's currently in 4th place, because he's struggling now to keep it on the grey stuff.
But 4th is still going to be a good result as Tim Zimmermann fends off Raffaele Marciello. Again, one more lap for Raffaele. He can't get to the end of this race quick enough, and I do not think he'll be hanging around once he gets out of this car. He'll be away, because this has been a really disappointing weekend. Never mind race, but both races really have failed to live up to expectation. Suddenly, 3rd yesterday for Marciello must feel like a win, because today the car has looked decidedly average, hasn't it?
Well, I won't be trying to talk to him afterwards, I can assure you. So Tim Zimmermann still holding on. He's done it for so long. He just needs to do it for the rest of this lap. Our leader currently is up at turn 4 in the final lap of this race. Again, Marciello, has he run out of patience? Is he going to muscle his way past? It feels like Marciello is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at Tim Zimmermann in front, but still Zimmermann staying strong. A replay of the two cars just together. Marciello pushing him, literally pushing him around the corner. There goes a Mercedes badge. Anybody want a souvenir is out there somewhere on the track. Here comes our race leader though, Ben Green. He took over from Niklas Cruton. This duo of drivers for Schubert Motorsport won yesterday. They're going to do it again today for the first time in 4 years. The same driver combination wins race 1 and race 2 of the weekend. Ben Green, Niklas Cruton win race 4 of this 14 race season for the ADAC GT Masters. They must be championship favourites now. Second across the line comes Jesse Krohn, Ian Chen-Guven, Joel Storm, Yusuf Vega, Kim Louis Schramm, Jan Marszalkowski, Albert Costa Balboa, Dennis Lind. We're still watching this battle. Raffaele Marciello in 14th place. Tim Zimmermann, well, that'll feel like a win to him. Marciello, I think there is well, we won't have any microphones near him at the end. He will be very frustrated, and I'm sure he will be out of here like a shot. That is the race winner, though. What an impressive drive. Ben Green and Niklas Cruton, they have utterly nailed it this weekend. Fantastic.
Absolutely right, and both of them have been wheel perfect. Whether it's been race or qualifying, we've had no errors really coming from either of them. And Ben Green has done an outstanding job in that stint. So too has Niklas Cruton. It's funny, isn't it? Some drivers you see in one category and they don't really sparkle. You put them in something different and they do, and Niklas Cruton is one of those. He's come out of single-seater racing, in which he looked okay, but he's looked very much the real deal in a GT car this weekend. Ian Chen-Guven is determined to pretend he's the leader by storming around the outside. But yeah, Ben Green, Niklas Cruton, 2 out of 2, outstanding.
Here's the result of race 2. Green and Cruton crossing the line first, ahead of Jesse Krohn, Nicky Katzberg, Ian Chen-Guven and Christian Engelhardt in 3rd, Joel Sturm and Sven Muller in 4th, Yusuf Vega and Dries Vanthoor in 5th, Kim Louis Schramm and Dennis Marshall in 6th, Marszalkowski and Junkadella in 7th, and in 8th place Albert Costa Balboa and Jack Aitken. That is the rest of the results. The guesting team, Dennis Lind and Christian Kleen for JP Motorsport in the McLaren, 9th place. They came here to learn about the car, to learn about the tyres. I expect they've learned an awful lot here in the sunshine at the Red Bull Ring, and I'm sure the crowd that we see on the terraces, a big crowd that are here this weekend, have loved every moment of it. I certainly have. Great stuff from Ben Green and Niklas Cruton. The souvenir, he's the one who gets it. And I'll take that home and put it on the mantelpiece if I were you. There's a story behind that star.
Well, there's the lightweight Mercedes, but even shedding bits of the trim didn't help, did it? That was a hugely disappointing result for Raffaele Marciello and Jonathan Aberdeen. And you know, Raffaele, as we've been saying, he looked a bit beaten up after 3rd place yesterday, but I can't wait to see the facial expression when he gets out of the car now. It'll be one of doom and gloom. His face will be longer than the pit straight. I'm not hanging about. I'm done. I'm done.
Start the car.
Taxi for Marciello.
What a great performance from Ben Green and Niklas Cruton, because you'd have thought with Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg starting alongside him in a lighter car that they would have been reasonably easy prey, but they have done a phenomenal job. Yesterday we saw Ben Green on the grass at the start of the race, bit of grass track racing. We saw Niklas Cruton with the door hanging open. He was holding it closed for 2 laps. He had to take a very wide line out of turn 6 and cut back in to get the door to slam shut. they've overcome all of that. They come out of this event as championship leaders. 3 points ahead of Yusufa Vega, 5 points ahead of Jonathan Aberdeen and Raffaele Marciello and Nicky Katzberg and Jesse Krohn. So, championship very much alive and kicking. Where did Ben Green and Niklas Kruten come from? Stunning stuff. They got a 11th place and a 16th place at Oschersleben. That did not tell half the story of what was about to come.
No, indeed. And of course, the fascination next is going to be whether that can be maintained or whether this has just proved to be the absolute perfect circuit for the BMW. There's nothing to suggest that in terms of their ability they can't deliver. But as you've seen, the way that balance of performance works, some cars work better on certain circuits. This has been a BMW track. It has not been a Mercedes track, but it can all swing around for future rounds of the championship, can't it?
Yes, and at Zandvoort, the next time out in the Netherlands, that will be an entirely different ball game. As you say, BMW have always been very impressive here at the Red Bull Ring. In the GT4 category, we've had a BMW winner as well. So BMW very strong at this circuit. We'll see what it's like at Zandvoort, because it could all change. The balance of performance will make sure that these cars are kept very close together, but Mercedes certainly need to find some pace. Here's a replay of Ben Green coming out of turn 10, weaving as he crosses the line and receives the checkered flag. You can see the gap over him. And second place, Jesse Krohn. You can see Niklas Kruten, how delighted he is. Surely the highlight of his racing career so far, by some distance, I would say.
Yes, looked after by the same management company that also has a hand in Lando Norris's future, and Niklas Kruten, who is driver coached by Duncan Tappy, who's here this weekend, also on occasions by Robbie Kerr. He races against Duncan in ELMS. He's not just a GT driver, he's also doing prototypes, and that's quite interesting because they're different fields of cars with the differing amounts of aero, and yet he's adapted from LMP2 back into these GT3 cars with alacrity this weekend, no question about it.
And you'd think that spreading it across two different categories would actually dilute it, but it seems to have strengthened him, doesn't it? There's third place, Ian Schenkoven, Christian Engelhardt and the Team U Sport Wagen Technique Porsche 911. Third place to go with their second place from yesterday. They will be very happy with that. Second today, though, the first of the BMW M4 GT3s, Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg. But the headlines for this weekend, race 1 and race 2, go to Ben Green and Niklas Kruten, also for Schubert Motorsport in the BMW M4 GT3. They win the race again this weekend at the Red Bull Ring. We always knew the M4 was going to be good. It really has proven to be the car to have. So celebrations in the pit lane from the Schubert Motorsport racing team, and yes, that's the sight of happiness.
It's very nice to see Nick Katzberg looking so pleased for his young teammates, because although his car was the first loser, if you like, he's been able to see not only two young chargers have a good weekend, but also see the potential of that car, knowing now that they've learnt a lot and they've certainly proved how competitive the M4 is. And so Nick Katzberg being able to celebrate as well, second place with Jesse Krohn. But just an outstanding weekend for Ben Green and Niklas Kruten. And one would hope that that's not the only weekend on which they are going to shine. But 2 out of 2 takes some doing in a championship as competitive as this.
It really does. And BMW from BMW, from Porsche from Audi, the highest place Mercedes in 7th place in the hand of Jan Marszałkowski, and he was sharing with Daniel Juncadella, of course. And that's a good result actually for Jan Marszałkowski, who has come across to GT Masters from GT4 as well. Into the cool down room we come, and there are the two Team U Sport Wagen Technique drivers, Ian Schenkoven and Christian Engelhardt. Always a bit risky listening into the conversation on live TV. Do you want to risk it?
Oh, we'll see the twin bush colour scheme on the Porsche, which you always used to, of course, be on Audis in VLN. They're making 24 hours as well. And anyway, the Porsche drivers are there. The podium ceremony is about to get underway. While that goes on, of course, the podium sits on top of the man filter garage. And I'm just peering into Raffaele's Mercedes, just checking it wasn't a GT4 car that he'd been racing, which might account for where the pace had gone to. But such massive frustration for Mercedes here. And it started so well yesterday with pole position, and it's got progressively worse and worse and worse. But there are going to be some very happy faces at BMW Motorsport tomorrow morning, if there aren't already, because 2 out of 2 is well, potentially so, but that is just an outstanding result. And to take 2 wins and a pole position and to come away as championship leaders, it's almost every box ticked. Well done, Schubert Motorsport.
I mean, they weren't even in the contenders, the running contenders coming into this event in most people's eyes. Obviously, it had only been the 1 round at Oschersleben. They were very much developing that BMW. Ben Green had said, this is our worst track of the season at Oschersleben. We are only going to get better. Did not expect them to get that better that quickly. Red Bull Ring, yes, it does favour BMW, but that car is red hot, and particularly in the hands of Ben Green and Niklas Kruten.
Absolutely right. So we'll see what happens for Zandvoort. Next stop, very different sort of a circuit. Of course, weather can be fickle there as well. It's also close to the beach, so quite often it's a dirty, slippy circuit with the sand blown onto it. But the fascination of ADAC GT Masters will continue as their winning drivers head to the podium. Wolfgang Land goes to congratulate Thorsten Schubert after an excellent job by the BMW squad this weekend.
2 legendary team owners, Land and Schubert next to each other, and it's great to see them congratulating each other, part of the GT3 family and real entertainers.
Wolfgang Land, the German team manager in Austria, so a foreign land, and he awaits his drivers then to make their way to the podium, because there are podiums for overall as well as for the classes. But the cool-down room is where all the drivers offer their thoughts on the race first of all.
Do you have some water?
Do you have some water? Was about all I got out of that. So we saw Ben Green just walking off shot there in the glorious sunshine, blue skies up above. What a great day to be in the Styrian Mountains. Wonderful time being had by everybody, but the best time of all being had by Schubert Motorsport. Ben Green and Niklas Kruten, who will be on the top step of the podium. But it's third that come out first. Ian Chen-Guven and Christian Engelhardt for Team U Sportwagen Technique. Of course, Christian Engelhardt, the 2020 champion in ADAC GT Masters. Ian Chen-Guven, who moves from Porsche Carrera Cup Germany to GT Masters for 2022. Second place for Schubert Motorsport, Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg, 2 legendary drivers in the BMW. And they're on the second place. They jumped on the top step. No, you're not there. Old habits die hard. These are the ones that go to the top step. Niklas Kruten and the UK's Ben Green to the top step of the podium. We'll have a representative from Schubert to receive a trophy as well. And then it'll be hats off for the national anthem. But Schubert Motorsport, there is going to be some partying there tonight. I have no doubt about that. So it's time for national anthem. So the German national anthem for Schubert Motorsport. And the trophies now to be presented. Andres Timmel from Spielberg presenting the gold ball. They've got 2 of those each now because they got one yesterday. There'll be another one for Ben Green as well. It is so unusual in a weekend of ADAC GT Masters to see the same drivers winning both races. Normally, day two, the grid is completely different, but so powerful is that driver combination with that car. They've done it again, 2 out of 2 this weekend. The second place, a silver ball, being presented to Nicky Katzberg and Jesse Krohn. And there'll be a bronze ball each presented to Ian Chen Guven and Christian Engelhardt very shortly. So that is presented. Ian Chen Guven opposite to Christian Engelhardt. He says, no, you keep it. There's another one coming. Trophies held high. A very successful weekend also for Team U Sportwagen Technique with Ian Chen Guven and Christian Engelhardt totally in the points chase. Christian Engelhardt must be thinking about repeating his 2020 championship. It's on the table, but standing in his way, those pesky BMWs. And there will be celebrations at Schubert Motorsport tonight. There is no doubt. We've got until the end of June, the 24th to the 26th, for round 3 of the ADAC GT Masters. That will be at Zandvoort, the bank circuit in the Netherlands, and then to the Nürburgring at the beginning of August for round 4. Round 5 will be at the Lausitzring, and round 6 at the undulating Sachsenring in September. The season comes to a close at Hockenheim at the end of October. That will be round 7, and it will be then that we will discover the identity of the GT Masters German GT champion for 2022. For now, the celebrations echo throughout the Red Bull Ring.